So, yeah, man, I went to prison at a young age,
How
19,
old?
20,
1920.
19, 20, bro. And, I was charged of some very serious crimes, bro, where they were trying to put me in prison 50 years, 40 years, And by the grace of God, I was able to only receive a sentence of 12 years. But within that 12 years, bro, it was like a huge transformation. Like,
What you mean? You explain year by. Are you able to explain like year by year and what you saw within yourself, and then what year actually like sparked that change?
okay, so for me, when I first went to prison, I was very angry and bitter. Like, it wasn't my fault. I shouldn't be here. And I took my anger out on myself, um, other individuals that was in there. So I found myself in segregation a lot, fighting, snapping out. And when you're in segregation, you wake up by yourself every day, 23 hours.
What is segregation?
It's when you segregated from general population and you in this room where you can touch both sides of the wall like this, 23 hours a day. You only leave that room to take a 5-10 minute shower.
How long were you in there?
The longest I've ever been in segregation was like 290 days.
All right. So with that, what else do they call it? Solitary
Yeah,
confinement.
yeah.
The
whole
yeah, the whole solitary confinement. I had a few friends that were locked up and spoke about that. How did you keep your mind intact?
It sounds crazy, but you don't. Like, you talk to yourself. You do push-ups. You read, and this man, the utter loneliness eats you up, where to the point where you literally start talking to yourself so you don't feel so alone. Like, you crave for mail. Any piece of mail that comes to you, any type of correspondence, you hold that dearly because it's the only person who's talking to you, bro.
Make sure that mic fits in your way.
It's deep. It gets deep, bro. Like, the mental effect it has on you is tough, bro.
You are a very solid person that I've met and carries himself very well. How did you make that transition? When did that start?
For me, I think it was once I actually realized that the only person I'm hurting is myself. No matter if I hurt someone else's feelings or if I was to get into a fight with somebody or an argument, whatever the case may be. Ultimately, I learned that it was not making me feel any better, and I had to start figuring out what would.
How many years did that take?
It started around year 3, but I really didn't get to that point until about year 9. Like, it's a lengthy process. Like, and you talk to yourself, you tell yourself that you're not right, you're not doing good, etc., etc., and you know what you should be doing. However, it be the learned behaviors and the environment and your morals and core values that you were raised on that kind of makes the transition or makes the transformation like really, really hard. And like, small examples, somebody disrespect me while playing basketball. In my mind, from what I was taught from growing up, I react in a way where more so it's a violent reaction. We get into a fight, and then I end up in segregation. But then everything I just worked so hard for it's gone. And I can't blame that guy for calling me out my name to that warranted that reaction from me. I can only blame myself. I knew how hard I was working to get to that place where I was, and for me to allow somebody to call me out my name, for me to just throw it all away, only person at fault is myself.
So you learned reaction versus response. Reaction versus response. Reacting, they say something, you just react instead of responding appropriately, and that means self-dialogue, inner talk, realizing that it's not worth it. responding appropriately. Like, all right, man, you go ahead and do that.
Exactly. But I didn't get to that point until I started holding myself accountable. You can't see past.
What was the catalyst for that? Like, what sparked that change in year 9 that did all that?
No, year 9, I was there. But it started about year 2 or 3, and
Okay.
it took me 6 years to get there. But the turning point for me was when my son would come see me and how he'd break down in tears because he didn't want to leave. And one day he told me like, "Dad, I just want to stay here with you." That broke me. Like, you want to stay in a place like this with me? Like,
Just to be next to you.
just to be next to me. Like, no, that broke me. So I started figuring out, like, I got to make sure when I walk outside of these gates that when my son tell me stuff like that, I want to stay with you, it's going to be in our own home, playing our game on our couch, us wrestling, us going to the park playing basketball. Not you want to stay in prison with me on a visit. No. So I had to start figuring out how can I prepare myself, or what tools do I need to equip myself with so when I get out of here that I never come back.
What books were you able to read that gave that to you, man? Other than inner dialogue and self-thought and you processing all that, what else helped you out while you're there?
Forgiveness is a Choice by Dr. Robert Enright. My favorite book. My favorite book, bro, because, like, you learn so much about forgiveness, and I had this preconceived notion that forgiveness was for the weak. And it's not, because
It's
it
not.
actually takes,
A strong person.
man, extreme strength to be able to forgive somebody,
Yes, it does.
especially somebody you love the most.
And it takes extreme strength to forgive them and continue to move on.
But the hardest person